Hello there. Thank you for coming back. Please take a seat. So, how have you been since our last meeting? So, last time, as you will remember, was our first meeting, and you came to me because you wanted to explore your relationship with others, with potential romantic partners, with previous partners, and we discovered that you also wanted to speak about your relationship with yourself because essentially your relationship with yourself lies at the heart of your relationship with anyone else. So, we covered some ground last time, and we covered how you see yourself, your relationship with your own sense of confidence, your own sense of self esteem, and your previous experiences in your life and in your childhood. But obviously, we won't get too deep. But last time we focused on your relationship with yourself and particularly your relationship with your own sense of romantic expectation and with your own sexuality. Now, as I mentioned last time, or rather, as we mentioned last time, sexuality is a rather important thing, especially the way that we see it within ourselves. So, everyone on the planet is, in some way, shape, or form, a sexual being. And quite often, our sexual personalities lie very close to who we are at the core of our being, at the core of our individuality. And so that is what we were exploring last time. And that is what we will continue to explore today. Plus, as I mentioned, your relationship with your own expectations and kind of just what you want out of life, you know. It doesn't have to be what you want out of a partner or anything like that. It's actually what you want out of life itself, regardless of which partner you're with. So it's what you want out of life, and then how your own relationship with yourself, with your sense of self confidence, with your sexuality will kind of play into that. Because once you figure that out, then it'll be much easier for you to connect to others. Mm. Mm. So I gave you some homework, if you remember, and I'm hoping you took some time and did some exploration as we spoke about last time. Okay, good. So just to remind you, the last time we spoke about sexuality and physicality. So I explained to you, as humans, we all have the same or very similar equipment, physically speaking, but we're all wired up in very different ways. What one person may like, another person may not like. I explained last time the different types of arousal patterns, specifically the different types of female orgasm. As you remember, there are a few. So I'll just go through them again, just to refresh your memory, just to remind you. So there is the clitoral orgasm, which comes from your clitoris, of course, which is that small button, small clump of nerve cells at the top of your lips. Sorry to be so graphic about it. So that's the first type of orgasm. The second is your G spot. Your G spot is inside, so around an inch and a half in on the front wall, so towards the front of your body if you were to insert a finger or something else in. It's not a button like the clitoris, it's more like a raised bump, if you like, and it feels slightly ridged to the touch. The G spot is actually not a spot on its own, it's actually the back of the organ, which is part of the clitoris. So it's actually part of the clitoris. The clitoris is a rather large organ. The G spot is the back of it, the clitoris is the front. The G spot requires a harder touch than the clitoris. The reason being the nerves of the G spot are deeper under the skin than are the clitoris. So the clitoral nerves are very close to the surface of the skin. So the clitoris can be a very sensitive thing. So it requires, generally speaking, a lighter touch, whereas the G spot can take a much harder touch. Interestingly enough, with a G-spot orgasm, is that female squirting will often come from G-spot stimulation. Now, this is really interesting because there are two different types of female squirt in inverted commas. Sorry, I'm not a fan of the word squirt, but that's the word that's used. The clinical term is female ejaculate, but we'll just call it squirt for now. So there are two different types of female squirting. The first type is a kind of thin, sweet, sticky, watery type of fluid. And the second is a kind of thicker, milkier, whiter type of fluid. Now, both of these types of squirt come from G-spot stimulation. The first of these, the thinner one, can kind of be likened to male pre-cum. So this type of squirt is kind of a precursor to orgasm. It won't come out on orgasm, but it may come out in the lead up to orgasm when arousal is quite high. So again, it comes out from G-spot stimulation when the G-spot is pressed. And this liquid actually doesn't shoot out from the vagina itself. It shoots out from the urethra, which is where you pee from. So this is why some people say that female squirt is nothing but pee. But actually, it's not true. It's not correct, because pee, urine, is composed of water, ammonia, urea, etc. This squirt is mainly water and sugar. It's fructose. And it builds up in the bladder, which is also funny. It builds up in the bladder, but it's not urine. So G-spot stimulation can cause squirt to shoot from the urethra, but it comes from the Skene glands. So the Skene glands fill up the bladder, and then it can shoot out of the urethra on G-spot stimulation. The reason it shoots out from the urethra is because of the placement of the G-spot. When it's pressed, it pushes up against the urethra, which stimulates the nerves, which stimulates the Skene's glands, which can stimulate potential squirting. Now, the second type of squirt is actually the type that comes out on orgasm. And again, this comes from the Skene's glands, and it's a thicker, milkier sort of liquid. And again, it shoots out of the urethra, but that is on G-spot orgasm. Now, we're gonna come back to you in a bit because I want to know how your homework went. But just before that, I'll just tell you a bit more about this because I want to see if you've experienced it yourself and then consequently how you felt about it. When the G-spot is stimulated, it requires a harder touch than the clitoris. But when the orgasm presents itself and you start to feel like you want to come, most women will feel the need to pee. And that's because G-spot stimulation presses up against the urethra. Now, of course, when you're having sex or when you're having your own fun, whenever your G-spot is stimulated, if you're not used to the sensation, the feeling of needing to pee is not going to be pleasant because you don't want to pee on your lover, right? But the thing is that it's not pee, it's actually cum when you feel that sensation when your G-spot is being stimulated. So in order to feel the orgasm, instead of holding it in, instead of contracting your muscles to hold in what you think is pee, you actually need to release. You need to release and actually push out as if you were peeing. And this is going to feel a bit strange if you're not used to the sensation, because it might feel like whilst you're being stimulated, you're releasing your muscles to pee. And of course, as I've said, you don't want to pee on your lover, or you don't want to pee on the bed. But you won't. You will come. You'll orgasm. But for some women, nothing comes out. For some women, a little bit comes out. For some women, a lot comes out. Everyone is different. Just to give yourself peace of mind, if you are going to stimulate your G-spot, then pop to the bathroom beforehand. Have a quick pee. Make sure your bladder's empty, and then come back. Then you know that when you're being stimulated, it's not pee, it's cum. I mean, it's going to become anyway, but that's just for your own peace of mind. Just to get over any kind of mental block you may have about releasing those muscles during sex or during stimulation. Right, so that's the G-spot orgasm. So I mentioned a couple more last time. I'll just go through them very quickly. So there was the A-spot orgasm, the C-spot, the U-spot, the anal orgasm, the tantric orgasm, and then you have blended orgasms, multiple orgasms. So there's quite a few to get through. But the homework I gave you specifically last time was to explore your own clitoral and, if you're comfortable, your own G-spot orgasm. Now, did you do the homework? How did you get on with it? Did you find it difficult doing it on your own? Did you feel comfortable exploring yourself, especially exploring something a bit more intimate or advanced like your G-spots? Well, if it was difficult for you, or if you're unable to really relax enough to explore yourself, or if you feel silly doing it, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with you at all. This is personal exploration, and it's your personal journey. There is no correct or incorrect. You're just exploring yourself, and you're exploring yourself for the purposes of discovering how your own body works and what feels good for you. And then off the back of what feels good for you, you'll discover more about your own preferences, sexually and physically speaking. And from that, your own kind of sexual personality. Because when you're aroused, your mind will go to different places connected to your arousal, and you'll find out more about what you actually enjoy, what you like, what your fantasies may be. But this is just the first part of it. We're going to go deeper than this. But for now, we're going to stay on self-exploration. But if you weren't able to explore yourself that much, then I can assist you. I can. Don't worry, I'm a professional. And this is a professional setting. So there won't be anything untoward. But I'm happy to assist you. This is my area of expertise. So if you're comfortable, we can explore this part of your sexuality. And I will just guide you. You can just do what's comfortable. You don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with. Is that okay? Great. Okay, then we can begin. Thank you for listening, and thank you for making it to the end of this YouTube audio. I hope you've learned something from your resident British sex therapist. The rest of this audio is a guided masturbation, and for obvious reasons I can't put it on YouTube. So if you do want to listen to the rest of this and listen to how I guide you, then head over to my Patreon page. The link's in the description, in the comments, and on the video. Can't miss it. I hope to see you there. If not, also fine. Then I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for listening. Love, your British gentleman.